Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So let's have a look at the new Transcendent form of Ra, and yeah, this one's pretty great. Let's have a look at the stats first, and stats are very high overall. HP is kind of super tank status. Attack is pretty decent, about 24,000, and then speed is very, very high at 400. And actually, if you kind of compare her to other light Transcendent forms, she's kind of on par with like Aladdin or Royce. Not quite as high as a Striker, but still very, very high. And yeah, with the addition of much more speed than any of those characters. So stat-wise, very, very good. Next, we'll look at her abilities. She has a no gravity barrier passive in her. So with command strike shots, she will be able to move very easily. She has a Fiend Slayer, which she carries over from her evolution form, I believe it is. And that is also passive, so that will go into her bump combo, so that's pretty great. And then she has a new ability on her gauge, Water Slayer. This is pretty amazing. Before her, there was only one other 5-star with Water Slayer, and that was Belphegor Ascension. And she has no warp. So Ra kind of, fills a completely different role with having no gravity barrier. And then one that is kind of more versatile. There's a lot more gravity barrier quests than warp quests. And it might seem a little strange that a light character has kind of an off element Slayer, but that precedent was set by Gabriel, who has both light and dark Slayer being a wood type. So it's not so strange anymore. And so, yeah, kind of her use cases are sort of decided. You can use her for dark quests because she is light element. You can use her against fiend bosses, and you can use her in water quests. So yeah, she's pretty great in all of those. Let's see, I will say one thing about the Fiend Slayer. It's mostly bosses that are fiends. There are not a lot of mobs that are fiends. So the bump combo, which is especially good for taking down mobs, won't benefit from Fiend Slayer. And then another thing about fiends, there are a lot of fiends that have Deity Slayer. So you need to be careful about using Ra in those quests. If you do, it'll sort of be like a race to see who can take down the other guy first. And then as far as being a Water Slayer, that makes her kind of her base damage higher than even wood characters, kind of strong wood characters like Ibaraki Dolji or Oryo. So that's a good fact to keep in mind. She's a good source of damage. And then, excuse me, her attack is not super high. It's pretty high, but it's not super high. But considering that she has 2 Slayers, I would say that's pretty high. Next, her strike shot is the same as before. It's the mist cloud that kind of shoots out. Very, very short range, and it does the most damage in the weak points, of course. And I was prepared to say that this strike shot was not so great and not even worth using. But as we shall see in the video coming, I was surprised by how much damage it did, so we'll have a look at that. I will say though that it is not very versatile, and it is kind of reliant on luck and positioning, but we'll have a look at that in the video. And then finally we get to her bump combo, which is very strong. She has the Homing Pierstruction 8, and it has the damage of 3345. That's kind of the magic number that you're looking for homing bump combos. And other very strong characters have this strength of bump combo, like Ibaraki Dolji or Takeda Shingen. And yeah, once you get to that number, then your homing shot is going to be a real source of damage. And then one viewer left a comment asking about what the difference is between a pierce homing shot and a standard homing shot. The pierce homing shot will actually hit 3 times, while the standard will hit only once. And the pierce is even better because it can kind of, travel around the hit area of the boss and have a greater chance to hit the weak point. So yeah, this is a very strong bump combo. And then she also has the Blast Bump combo. And then we're going to be seeing that more and more, especially with the Transcendent forms, where they have one very strong kind of standalone bump combo, and then the Blast Bump combo to go with it. And yeah, that's a great combination. That just means more bump combos out in general. And then it also saves you the trouble of using a support character simply for their Blast Bump combo. So that gives you lots of options. And then to talk about quests that she would be good for, all of those quests that I mentioned earlier. And then specifically, she would be good for Yamato Takeru. She does have the Water Slayer, and then she has a bounce, which is good for pinching a lot in those stages. And yeah, her missed strike shot could be good for avoiding damage walls. Although for that quest, you can't really skip any turns, so I'm definitely going to take maybe a team of her through Yamato Takeru to see how well she does. Otherwise, Able Berries, that would be good for her. Maybe you're all tired of me talking about Survivor, but Survivor for Raw is awesome. I recommend it for all light and dark characters anyway, just so that they can be great in that kind of opposite element quest. But in her case, having Water Slayer and wanting to take her to water quests makes it even more of a priority to give her Survivor. If she does get the, say, the S-Class Survivor Able Berry, she'll take 20% less damage. And she doesn't usually get that in water quests, so to give her that would make her even more viable there. Otherwise, I would give her Sidekick. That would really improve her already strong homing bump combo. Stats are all pretty high, but if I were to give her one, I would give her Kin Strength, just to sort of build on the 2 Slayers that she has. Okay, so enough talking about that there. We'll take her to a quest, and then Ra is one of all of the Transcendent monsters, she's one of the top picks to have multiples of, and that's purely because of her bump combo. All of her bump combos kind of stacked up on top of each other will do lots and lots of damage. So we'll go to Lilith. Gimmicks here are gravity barriers and damage walls and lots of scorpions. So Ra will be fine with the gravity barriers. All of her homing shots will take down the scorpions. The damage walls we'll have to be careful of, so we'll watch out there. But yeah, I am doing the Slayer damage on this kind of mermaid-looking guy. And then all of the Blast Bump combos and the homing shots are kind of combining to just take down the scorpions almost immediately. Okay, so more bump combos here. Lots of damage, very good. And lots of hits in the weak point, because just as I said, the homing shots kind of travel around the hit area for the boss. And then another reason why to give Ra the Survivor Able Berry is because it will also affect the damage that you take from damage walls. You can kind of reduce that and then use her more easily in damage wall quests, like I'm doing here. Okay, so we're going to jump immediately to the boss stage. This is not such a big deal for us though, because the strike shot charges up so quickly. Okay, and then no scorpions on this stage, so we can have our homing shots focus more on enemies that take regular damage. And there go the Smydras. Yeah, very, very strong bump combo. And yeah, my bottom Ra there, she picked up the sword, so her homing shots will do even more damage. But yeah, excellent damage from the direct attacks and the homing shots. Okay, and there they go. And I really, really, really like the art of Ra Transcendent. I liked all of the art of her, all of her previous 3 versions, but yeah, this one is pretty cute, and I don't use that word a lot, so. And there is a kind of a well-known JP player and he released a list of his top characters. I haven't really talked about him yet. His name is Alice. And then he made a list of top 10 bounce characters and then top 10 Pierce characters. And number 1 for top 10 bounce characters was Ra Transcendent. I think he was trying to be a little bit, sort of off the beaten path with his choice. But I can really see why he would choose her. Just because of her versatility, being a light element, but also having those double slayers, and the strong bump combo, and the blast bump combo, and the very high stats. So yeah, it does make a lot of sense. I don't know if I would put her above like Gabrielle or Robin Hood or Lucifer, but still, really, really good. Okay, so there we stalled a little bit so that we could pick up the gold heart. And yeah, it's kind of because I am taking extra damage for not having the element advantage here. But anyway, here we are on the last stage. And then here I have 2 Ra in pretty good position for her missed strike shot. So when it becomes those guys' turns, we'll try that out. There are lots of targets here on this last stage, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to get concentrated damage from the homing shots. Okay, so let's have a look at Ra's strike shot. And 1 million damage. I was kind of impressed by that. It's just a theory that I and many other players have, but the damage done by the mist is determined by the distance you are from the weak point. And then, yeah, here we did 1.2 million damage, and that's fairly far away, I would say. That's like a character's length away. If she were right next to the weak point, for example, that would do even more damage, maybe 1.5 or more. So that was pretty impressive. That did more damage than I was expecting. Setting up for it is very difficult. You just need to have your character very close to the boss, and then hope that the weak point comes up on that position that you're right next to. So in most cases, I wouldn't count on it, but if the situation arises, then you can go ahead and use it and get good damage out of there. Okay, so we'll hit the damage wall, but we'll also clear the stage, and that does it for Lilith. So yeah, that was Ra Transcendent, and she's pretty great by herself, but I would highly recommend, if you have them, to transcend 2 or more of her, since a team of her is pretty great. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.